Nikola Jokic is a basketball god. Jalen Brunson, not far behind, actually. And is the Celtics path really too easy? We'll talk about it right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. It's your usual Wednesday crew here. It's me and Jake, and this is the button we need to press on the YouTube page. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. And, you know, I'm Jake, I'm here, I'm not here. I forget the buttons. It's just a mess.
It's okay. Welcome back. We're happy to have you here. That's the most important thing. And we get to talk about two really great performances in the association.
Yeah. Yes. Later on, we'll talk about the Celtics and our real or fake game. We'll save Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks and Pacers for the second segment. But let's start today's show, first of all, by saying today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, and no terms apply to Nikola Jokic. No, nothing. You throw the defensive player of the year at him. Nope, nothing. He had one of the best, absolute best playoff performances you're ever going to see out of a star player. He finished with 40. What was the 40 on the nose, 13 assists, 0 turnovers, 40 points, 13 assists, 7 rebounds, by the way, 0 turnovers, made a mockery out of Rudy Gobert in the third quarter. And that's when it was tied. And then the Nuggets just absolutely just pulled away.
That third quarter, you're going to look at 40 and be like, oh, that is an all-time performance. No way. We've seen 60 points in the playoffs and things. If you saw what Jokic did in the third quarter going right at Rudy Gobert, that was just downright offensive if you're Rudy, right? Like that was an incredible performance. He was going directly at the defensive player of the year, a 4-time defensive player of the year, an all-time player, and he didn't care at all. And he just goes, I'm going to go right at him. Here was the thing that was so impressive about him in the third quarter. I don't know if he broke out the same move twice. He just did so many different things going at that Timberwolves defense, and they didn't have an answer whatsoever. How often do you hear of a guy going, oh, I got the 4-time defensive player of the year matched up one-on-one with me. Let me go to work, right? Like not trying to pass out, not trying to facilitate, just trying to go and score.
I don't know what's more impressive. The just barreling into Gobert and finding a way to flip something up through some space and getting that in, or pulling the Hakeem Olajuwon on David Robinson and just like spin. Whoop, I'm going this way. And just have you faked out of your skims. Like Gobert had no way to defend Jokic because he had no clue. Like you said, it's not like Jokic was going to his move. He was just playing off of Gobert and saying, okay, you're playing me this way, I'm going to go here. I know you want to block my shot, so I'm going to throw this fake, I'm going to throw this juke, and that just keeps Gobert grounded. He could never time anything to get a good challenge onto what Jokic was doing. That is how you neutralize a guy like Gobert, and Jokic is like the only guy in the league with the feel for the game down low that can do what he did to Gobert.
No, it was just someone who's in like full command of their craft, right? Like someone who just knows exactly what's going on. He also had that like full quarter touchdown pass that he threw for easy points. Like he was so good in this game, man.
Off the rebound, don't bring it down, just and whip
turns and chucks it. Like it's like he has other eyes or something like that, right?
Insane.
There's just it's one of those things where like, look, we're paid to come on here and talk about this. I'm running out of things to say, man. Like, I don't know how they do it over at Locked On Nuggets with a guy who just does this regularly, right? Like, you'd think that'd be the easiest job in the world, but maybe it's actually kind of hard because it's so impressive and he does it every time.
It's just 22 minutes of laughing maniacally. But look, it's in we could do the entire 30 minutes here on Jokic and gush and marvel, but Christian Brown, it was huge, especially defensively, and he shoots 50%. KCP, huge, 6 of 8. He pitches in 16 points. Aaron Gordon, especially in the first half, was amazing. You know, you had Anthony Edwards leaving the podium after the last game, saying, "I'm sick of Aaron Gordon, man," and this is why. Like, everybody here had something that they pitched in. And, you know, Murray didn't, 16 points, 7 of 14 shooting. Like, he was fine, but it wasn't just the Jokic and Murray show. Got to give credit to all these other guys for stepping in and having their moments, their little slivers of throughout the game. We're like, oh, this is the KCP hit a couple threes in a row stretch. This is the Gordon follow-up dunking all over everybody's stretch.
Yeah, the Timberwolves kind of needed that. They were without Mike Conley in this one, which certainly was going to impact them a little bit. You saw it kind of throw their offense out of sorts, not having him to bring up the ball and everything. But you also saw Denver like doubling Anthony Edwards, particularly at the level, and just trying to kind of attack him, right? And force him out of his kind of rhythm. And he was off in this game. You know, he ended up with only 18 points on 5 of 15 shooting, got to the line, dished the ball, but just wasn't like the version of him that we're kind of used to seeing and what we have seen from him this year, or in the postseason here. And if no one else is going to step up, or they don't have the people to be able to do that, that's really going to end up like hurting them in this sort of game. And it did, particularly when Gobert and some of these other guys were getting kind of played off the court.
Well, remember, we were talking about like the Jaden McDaniels stuff. Like he was not effective in this game. Karl Anthony Towns, minus 17. He had a good statistical night, but I wouldn't say he was effective in this game. Gobert, obviously, not at all. Struggled defensively. And Edwards is at the top of that list because he's been the one who's been saying, I'll be ready. And a week ago, we were reading Anthony Edwards looks like Michael Jordan. Literally, he looks like Michael Jordan pieces. And I don't want to say those didn't age well, but he does physically bear some resemblance, and he did make some physically similar plays, but those might have been a touch premature. And it's just interesting that a young team like this with confidence, and they won on the road, maybe they caught Denver a little flat-footed. Maybe Denver didn't expect the defensive punch in the mouth that they got, and they were a little bit embarrassed. Edwards hasn't been able to back any of that stuff up since the first 2 games. And Jokic has been like, oh, by the way, I'm the MVP, and give me a couple of games of, getting humbled, and I can figure things out better than you can figure things out.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I had something that I was going to say, and I completely forgot. I remember it. Sorry. It's late.
It's 20 past 1 in the morning, man.
Look at this here. Right. Yeah, exactly. So a home team won. Does that make it a series now, right? Like the series doesn't start till a home team wins here. Yeah, what's that mean? I don't really know here, but
it's so weird. What a weird series. And look, it's the first time the Timberwolves have lost 3 games in a row this season. This is huge. This is like monumental. This I think might have been the series here, and it's hard to say that because now you're going there. Minnesota is going home, and they have a chance, even though they didn't defend home court. They have a chance to like make things right and send it back to Denver, but. Now the Nuggets have 2 chances, and Jokic has figured some stuff out.
He's back to being like Jokic, right? Like that was the issue with those first 2 games was he didn't look like himself, and now he very much looks like himself. There's no answer here. I heard them on the broadcast being like, they need to figure out ways to defend Jokic. That ain't going to happen. There's no one that's going to do that. If Rudy Gobert can't do it, no one is doing this. We don't need to talk adjustments. We don't need to talk scheme. When a guy is playing at this level, there's just nothing anyone can do. It's as simple as that, in my opinion.
They have to. The only thing Minnesota can do is get Anthony Edwards back to being.
You got to try not scoring, right? Like that's right? What it is.
You got to be the guy that people are comparing to Michael freaking Jordan, and so that's number one. The Nuggets have their megastar, and Edwards has to reach down somewhere and find that megastar, and they have to find a way to just defend these other guys. That's the key, and they have to get back to some level of defense. That maybe it's the officiating that's calling things a little bit tighter. One of the things from the first two games was a real loud conversation of the change in the officiating in the NBA has allowed the Timberwolves to be so much more physical and not get the foul calls. And now that maybe some of the fouls are being called, that physicality is not being rewarded anymore. So they have to find a way to defend. They have to find a way to keep Gordon off the boards. 5 offensive rebounds for him. They got to find a way to make KCP a non-factor. You can't have him hitting 4 or 5 from 3. So those types of things Minnesota's going to have to figure out, or their season ends up. I don't know what you call losing 4 in a row after winning 2. It's not a gentleman's sweep. There's got to be. I think we might have talked about this. So there's got to be a name for it. I'm sure people can hop into the comments and let us know. All right, the Knicks took a lead. Pivotal game 5s all over the places, Jake Madison. Pivotal games 5s all over. And the Knicks have won theirs. We'll talk about theirs when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I am a proponent of therapy. I know how much therapy can be effective. I've dealt with it. I've been open about my my dealings with depression and my need for somebody to talk to from every once in a while. And BetterHelp is great because it is all done on my schedule. It's all completely online. It's convenient. It's flexible, especially for somebody like me who's on the road. You don't have to worry about finding a therapist near you in your neighborhood that has an office near you. You don't have to worry about if you don't click, what do I do now? There's only a limited number of people in my area. It's all done online. So you fill out your brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist. Great. If it doesn't work out with that therapist, you can switch, no charge, no nothing at any time, because finding somebody you click with is just as important as finding somebody at all. Once you do all of that, the rest can really be easy. You can get whatever you need off your chest. So this is all done online at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You sign up there, you get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. It's streaming 24/7 at Amazon Fire TV channels. It's on YouTube 24/7. Get this show, get all our national shows, get some of the big stories everywhere. Caitlin Clark, Locked On. I'm sure Locked On women's basketball is going to be hugely featured on their debut. I'm almost like upset that I have to do the show with you, Jake, because it's a Tuesday night and Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut was in my backyard an hour away. And I said, I will go watch her in June because I had the podcast with you. So I'll be listening to the Locked On Women's Basketball.
I feel so special here that you did your job here.
Wow, man. Dude, you have to say it like that. We were going to have a moment here.
That was like a fake moment. That was entirely a fake moment. You'd rather be somewhere else. I understand. I would have gone. I probably would have wanted to have gone as well if it was anywhere near me. I get it.
Okay, fine. You know what? We're going to keep this professional and we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the New York Knickerbockers blowing the doors off of the Indiana Pacers, 121-91. Got a little close in the third quarter. I got to get a joke off about the Celtics, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But then it was raining hellfire. Jalen Brunson, 44 points, 7 assists. They got Alec Burks was dusted off, and he dropped 18. They got 18 from Josh Hart. They just got performances all over the place, and Tyrese Haliburton completely MIA, 13 points, a minus 22. They're going to need something from him if they're going to stay alive. But once again, the big story is Jalen Brunson, just absolute monster playoff heater.
He's not, I'm not going to put him at the Jokic level yet, but he's not horribly far from it right now, I think.
But when he's playing right now, he is
so
just
good.
Automatic, man. Automatic.
Yeah, it's like a 2-week heater that he's been on, right? 44 points on 18 of 35 shooting, which is kind of absurd, right? Only 3 turnovers on 35 shot attempts when you have like that high of a usage rate is kind of just wild to me. Good for the Knicks for not having like a weird ending of a game either, and like just kind of cruising in 1-2 a win here. Although the first half was kind of weird and close, a bunch of challenges. It got heated. There were like 5 techs in this game or something like that, right? The officials were breaking things up. So had like some of that Knicks like chaos to it, which I've enjoyed and has made their games really fun to watch. Isaiah Hartenstein had 12 offensive rebounds leading to 27 second chance points for the Knicks. Like it wasn't just like a normal, just like cruise to an easy win. There was some weirdness to it, but that's what makes this Knicks teams fun. And Jalen Brunson is also must watch TV right now.
His 3 wins here. This one was 18 of 35. That he's 35 shots. Jake,
that's a lot.
35 shots. In the previous 2 wins over Indiana, 11 of 18, 14 of 26, shooting well into the high 50% range in the wins. Couple of stinkers in those losses. It made people think like, oh, there go the Knicks running out of gas, but they found it here in this one. And look, credit to Tibbs for finding time. Like Josh Hart played 39 minutes, not 48 minutes. And you got to trust guys like Alec Burks. You get Precious Achiuwa in there for Mitchell Robinson, who had surgery on his ankle. You get some decent performances from guys that you haven't had to use, which is big for the Knicks, because now you get some level of like, oh, maybe we can trust these guys moving forward.
Yeah, look at Dante DiVincenzo kind of as like an example of it. He's been good. He's been starting for them, right? He had an awful night. It's 4-14, 0 for 6 from 3, and he's a plus 16, which just tells you how much that unit is working. And you saw him go back up for that big offensive board and put back dunk, which kind of came out of nowhere, which really summed up what they were doing, I thought, to the Indiana Pacers in this game. This team just has something, right? The ability to just like dig deep and get some of these wins here, because I think a lot of people were counting this Knicks team out with how injured they are. They've been doing this entirely without Julius Randle the whole way, right? Mitchell Robinson's now done. They're dealing with other injuries, and it's just still like really impressive from them that they're pulling all of this off. No Anunoby in this game. Now, it helps that you had like a no-show from Tyrese Haliburton. He may as well have not have played in this game, and maybe they would have done better. But look, at the same point, you can only play who's in front of you. We'll probably say that exact same line in the next segment here. And you got to and they did it, right? Like there's something to that resiliency that they have.
So the Pacers are definitely complicit in
like very much 18 turnovers, right? Like they were not good.
Right. You give up 20 offensive rebounds. Like you mentioned, I've got to say it again. 12 offensive rebounds for Isaiah Hartenstein. Like that is just a dumb number. You cannot allow that. You cannot make these mistakes, because that's the controllable stuff. The Knicks shot 101 shots. The Pacers shot 72. You are not going to win that math battle. You're just not going to do it. You have to keep it. If anything, in this series, I would have said one team takes 101 shots, one team takes 72. You would have absolutely guessed that was the Pacers run and gun, high flying offense, and the Knicks grind it out off it like that. This is completely flipped. But when you turn the ball over and give up those offensive rebounds, you're going to just get trampled because you're not giving yourself the opportunity. Look, the difference in shooting percentage is only 3%. The Pacers shot 44% from three, but took 8 fewer three-pointers. So the Knicks were able, with their volume, to match them from three while shooting 10% less. That stuff cannot happen if you're the Pacers. It just can't if you're trying to win this series.
No, look, they had this run to start the third quarter, right? They had it was 3 straight Miles Turner threes for 9 points. That cut it to, I think, 7 is what the lead was. That was their best offense of the night. Like that was their best offense of the night, was him hitting 3 threes. And then the Knicks went on, it got within 7. And then within moments, they pushed the lead out to 20, right? Like immediately they blew it wide open again. If Miles Turner hitting a couple of threes is your best offense, like you're done. Like you're done. Yeah. That's not how you're going to win these games.
And they had some bad turnovers. They were disorganized. And that starts with Haliburton. And Haliburton had, we go back to the mid-season, the in-season tournament, and he was riding such a high. And then he gets hurt. He hurts his hamstring. He was never the same. And I don't know, it's kind of just a weird, like, that injury sapped his superhuman powers. And it's a shame because this should be a battle. This should be Haliburton versus Brunson and an epic kind of battle, a contrast in styles. We're not getting it necessarily. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when they go back to Indy. Maybe being at home juices them up again, and maybe Haliburton finds something and
they should be well rested because those guys didn't play tons of minutes in this game because he got blown out, right?
That's true. Somehow Jalen Brunson still played 43 minutes. So we'll see where that goes.
Shocking.
All right. Let's move on to our game of real or fake. The Boston Celtics path is just too easy. Oh, that's going to be a fun one. We'll talk about that when we come back. Because it's all about me. It's all about me. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app because it's the best place to get your last minute tickets. It's an authorized dealer of the NBA tickets, but you're not just using it to get sports tickets. You're using it to get concert tickets, comedy tickets, theater tickets. But hey, maybe you didn't expect a series to go as long as it did. Maybe you're trying to take advantage of someone selling their tickets because, maybe people in Minnesota don't want to see, or maybe whatever. There are going to be last minute tickets for whatever you want there. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for all of these events. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of time for whatever the game or the event. You can choose a section and Game Time chooses the seats. That's called a zone deal. You can save even more there. Toggle the all-in pricing so you get all the cost up front so you're not surprised by any fees. Click on the seat view so you know exactly what your view is going to be from the seat, and you know you're going to get the lowest price because they've got the lowest price guarantee, which credits you 110% of the difference if you find those tickets somewhere else for less. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. There are a million reasons here to use Game Time for these last-minute tickets that are available right up to the event time and sometimes even past the start time of the event. Create the account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA. Read it off of the title of this podcast. You get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Okay, Jake Madison, you know what time it is.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
Jake, there's been a lot of talk in the past couple of days here of the Boston Celtics who have benefited from some injury luck, benefited from some lesser opponents, maybe we can say. And there are people who say, boy, this path is just too easy for the Boston Celtics. So, Jake, I present to you the question, real or fake. This path for the Boston Celtics is too easy.
All right, I'm going to answer the question. But first, listeners, who do you think came up with this segment today for Locked On NBA? Who we're all trying to find the guy who did this kind of thing here. Where you're like, oh, there's people saying. I'm like, I haven't heard people say that. No, I actually, I have.
You haven't? I mean, that is not true.
It's like I have. Okay, so this is fake. It's not too easy, right? It is easy in a sense, but here's the thing with that, right? Like, it should be. Boston's the one seed.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. They should have the easiest path out of everybody, right? Like, this is how it should be. They should be trouncing teams, right? This is a team that won 64 games. The next closest won 57. That's 7 wins more. They had 14 more wins than the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, right? It should look easy. Even if it's not actually easy, they should make it look easy, right? Like for a team like the Boston Celtics, you know, I would assume that if they don't win the title, this season is going to be considered a failure. It's not just making the finals, it's winning the title with a record like that and the way you just kind of rolled through the NBA. So yes, you should make a play-in tournament team look pretty bad. The injuries you don't control. Like, you just get what's in front of you. That's all you can do. And if you handle your business, you handle your business.
It's not only a play-in tournament team. It's a team that's lost a play-in tournament game.
Yeah, that's fair too.
You know what I mean? So you get the team that lost one play-in game and had to go play a second one. So that is an added advantage. And then you get the worst of the remaining teams, that middle of the pack team, where those, generally speaking, you know, like, look, sometimes the West, you know, you see some of these middle of the pack teams. They're not your typical 4 or 5 seeds. So whatever. But generally speaking, that's a team there's a reason why they're not 1, 2, or 3. They're in that next tier because they have flaws. That's the benefit you get, like you said, of being a number 1 seed. You're supposed to get this easy path, and it's not supposed to be impressive to anybody. It's not supposed to be like, you're just trying to win games. And okay, Jimmy Butler got hurt. Sorry, no one asked for that, but that's how it goes. I'll tell you one thing. Every other team in the playoffs, every other team, every other fan base would gladly switch places with the Boston Celtics right now so they can get that path. No one is going to sit there and be like, you know what, I wish every series was 7 games and I'm sitting there crying and wondering if we're going to win or lose. Like the rest of us, not looking at those, not the fans. I'm talking about like the observers. Like, I love the fact that the Knicks and Pacers could go 7. That's going to be great. Knicks going 7 has been fun to watch. But you, Jake, New Orleans Pelicans fan, do you sit there and say, I want hard-fought 7-game series? Or do you want, like, hey, if we can do this in 4 or 5, I'll take it?
So most people, I agree with you, are going to be like, yeah, give us the easiest path and let's just, a title's a title, right? Like, we make fun of the Lakers for their bubble title, but they still won a title, and everyone would have liked to have won it that year. No one's like, I don't want to not win, right? I will say there's probably someone's dad who's like, it doesn't count unless you go through the best teams out there to win the title. And in my own personal view, it doesn't count as much. There's definitely like some old curmudgeon that kind of has that view of it, but there are also probably not like a true fan of that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? Like, that's the type of guy who's like, no, this doesn't count unless we beat all of the best teams here. Doesn't matter if there was an upset or something like that. So like, someone's doing that. But no, everyone wants the easier path. Everyone would like to just win all 16 games and just win the title and not have any losses, and that be that.
There are legitimate things to criticize the Celtics about. And I think some of this is born from the legitimacy of, yeah, they do have a tendency to play down but not necessarily like this regular season. They got away from that a lot. But Donovan Mitchell was out and they they struggled with the top of that at the beginning of that game in game 4, which, you know, there's the criticism, right? There is something about the Celtics late game execution, which has shown like a little spotty sometimes. And so that's something that they have to get through. They are not a buzzsaw of a team down the stretch of close games. And that is a legitimate criticism of the team. Every one of these teams has legitimate criticisms when they're not playing well or when they make mistakes. And that's fine. Like I'm open to the discussion of the team's flaws. But people, I think, because of the media landscape and because only the loudest voices get heard, people have to go out there and say they can't sit there and say, well, you know, the Celtics do have some flaws, and you know, I'm interested to see if they can get past those flaws. And you know, they have not been, those flaws have not been thoroughly tested in the first 2 rounds. I can say that. But
That's by the way, a good reminder that people need to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. You don't want to hear those loud voices that are saying those things, and you want intelligent basketball talk or just sports talk in general.
That's right. That's right. That's Jake saying we're done. We're out of time.
No, I actually wasn't. We can keep going on this one. I was just like, I'm a company man here, so I was going to plug that.
No, but seriously, that, I mean, that basically come to a natural conclusion of my point. Like I start repeating myself and saying like, the Celtics
all you can
do
is just, you just can play who's in front of you. It's as simple as that.
That's right.
If you handle business against them, if winning in 5, that counts as handling business, right? Like that wasn't them full. You know, if that first round series goes to game 7, we might look at this and be like, huh? You know, if it say every game goes to game 7 until the finals and they win the title, we're going to look back at their run to the Eastern Conference and be like, man, if they had actually played tougher teams, they wouldn't have won. That's not happening here, right? So that's, I think, helping.
No, it's all contrived stuff. Like none of this stuff matters. All that matters is that you win the games, and they've won the games. They've lost 2 game 2s at home, which is kind of weird. But then they won 3 in a row and finished Miami in 5. They have a chance to win 3 in a row on Wednesday night here and finish the Cavs in 5, and then sit there and wait for the Knicks and the Pacers to figure themselves out. And if that goes to 7, the Celtics have another week to sit at home and get rested and get healthy. And maybe Porzingis gets back, and then that changes that adds a dynamic, which I think is an important element to this, which is an entirely different conversation, which we can have at another time. For now, we're going to wrap up the Locked On NBA podcast and say thank you all for listening. On Wednesdays here, we are your regular co-host. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Oh, wait, that is why I suggested that, huh? Host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. You can find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on Twitter at NolaJake.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Ring the bell on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let us know what you think about these games. Let us know what you think about what we've talked about with the Celtics being their path being too easy. And then share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.